Why are people actually not permitting themselves to succeed?
Well, this is funny you asked that because I was actually, when I had this epiphany, I was sitting at a seminar on eating disorders. Now, I didn't have an eating disorder, but I actually have a background as a professional ballet dancer. That's one of the things that I did during my long journey of doing lots of things. So, as a professional ballet dancer, of course, many of that people in that profession are suffering from eating disorders, anorexia and bulimia, and which of course is very sad and very unfortunate. Now, I never had that problem, but I know many people who did. So I literally went to this seminar to learn more about it. And as the speaker at this seminar was talking about eating disorders, I realized that I was relating to everything she said. And she was saying that people who develop eating disorders have low self-esteem and they, are trying to not be here and they, are people pleasers and they're overachievers and all of that. And I'm like, oh my God, I check every box. And so I asked the next logical question, which is, well, then why didn't I develop an eating disorder if I check every box of someone who develops an eating disorder? And then that's when the light bulb went on in my brain. And I mean, it was like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I said, now, wait a minute. And it's kind of a long explanation, but if you hold with me, I promise it'll be worth it. It's kind of a long walk, but I promise it'll be worth it at the end.
I'm with you for the journey.
I appreciate it. So if you think about who develops eating disorders, well, it's typically women, right? It's typically women. Now, where have women been taught their worth comes from for centuries? Well, women have been taught for centuries their worth comes from their physical bodies, right? Now, notice what I said. It's not where a woman's worth comes from, it's where they're taught. It's where they've been told it comes from for centuries, millennia, right? Again, it's totally wrong, but it's where they're taught. And remember, it's still taught today. I mean, just look at the media, look at magazines and all this stuff. That's what women have been taught for centuries. So if a person who develops very low self-esteem wants to punish herself, it's very smart to punish her physical body. Okay, so that's what actually is anorexia. I just explained anorexia in 30 seconds. Now, I'm not a woman, I'm a man. So where have men been taught their worth comes from for centuries? Their status, right? Success, money, wealth, their personal holdings, anything you want to call it. I just call it success, right? That's where we men have been taught for centuries our worth comes from. You're not worth anything if you're not successful. That's what we men are taught. It's not true, but it's what we're taught. Just like with women, it's not true, but it's what they're taught. So I said, well, wait a second. So if a human being who's been taught that his worth comes from not his physical body, but his, as I call it, his material body, then wouldn't it make sense that he would starve himself not of food, but he would starve himself of success? And that's when my head exploded and I said, oh my gosh, I've just figured out everything. This explains my entire life. And I realized at that moment that I had just become the person who discovered and named this condition that I subsequently named success anorexia. Now, I told you it was a long walk, but here we are. Success anorexia. Okay, so that's when I realized, wait a minute, I've been studying all these how to succeed books, right? This is how my story ties together, right? So, how to succeed. So, they start on page one. Think about this. For everyone listening to this program, if you're still with me, I hope you are. Think about every single book you've ever read in self-help. What does it say on page one? Here's how to succeed. Well, of course, duh. That's what we all want. We all want to know how. Why am I reading this book? To succeed. Of course, dummy. But what did they forget? They left out the whole point. On page one, they said how to succeed, but they made an assumption that proved to be false, that I proved to be false 30 years ago, which is that every person reading that book had already given themselves permission to succeed in the first place. So they started on page one with an assumption. You know how to succeed, or you give yourself permission to succeed. You're allowed to succeed. You're not starving yourself of success. Those everything I just said was not even in the library. Never been talked about before. So that's where all of those years and years of study came in because I'd read every book and I knew that. And I went, wait a minute. Every single one of those guys made a huge assumption, which was false, which is we all have permission to succeed. And I'll tell you what, when I share this at my keynote speeches, Fong, when I say these things, I mean, I literally have grown men in tears because they're realizing, oh my gosh, I have spent thousands and thousands, sometimes tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally, on all these how to succeed programs, but no one ever showed me how to give myself permission to succeed.
How's success like Swiss cheese?
Success is like Swiss cheese because a lot of people have a lot of holes in their strategy. All right. So if you want to fill the holes, go to noahstjohn.com. Let's talk and let's fill those holes in your Swiss cheese so you can just take a bite out of success and enjoy it to the full.
Nicely done. So that's how success is like Swiss cheese.